In today's video, I'll be showing 3 easy Valentine DIYs. Welcome to CreArtive by Nature DIY and Decor. My name is Donna. So for this project, I am going to be using this little frame that I picked up from Dollar Tree, and it had a little succulent in it. I just removed that. And then I used some wire cutters and I managed to push this little pin that was holding the succulent in place. I was able to push it right through. And then I just used a thin tool to lift the hot glue that was holding the succulent into place. And it did lift the background a bit, but I am going to be covering that up so it wasn't a problem. Next, I am using this chalkboard heart, again from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to give it a coat of this spun gold craft paint from Decor. I've allowed it to dry well, and next I'm going to be using this scrap piece of lace that I had in my stash. One side of it had texture on it, so I flipped it over, and then I put the gold side down and I traced around the heart using a pencil. So you could use any fabric that you'd like. I just wanted it to be kind of sheer so you can see the gold coming through. And then I am just cutting the heart out of the lace. And then I just measure to see if it will fit, because sometimes I get my measurements wrong when I'm tracing things out, and it fits. So I'm using some tacky glue to apply the lace to the wood heart. You can use any glue that you like. Once I have the glue in place, I'll just use my finger to spread it out. Now you can add your fabric. So my lace is all good to go, and I just press it into the glue and I just smooth it out. Then I allow it to dry well. So the glue has set, and there was a little bit of overhang, so I'm just going to trim that off with my scissors. This isn't necessary. If you like that rough edge, then just leave it by all means. So as you can see, there's a hole at the top of the heart and the brown was showing through, so I decided to add this cream colored vintage lace onto the front of the heart to cover up that hole, and I'm just attaching it using some hot glue. So I wanted the heart to have a 3D effect within the frame, so I'm using these wood beads that are about halfway up from the inside of our little frame. You could use wood blocks. I'm just using these wood beads to give some lift on 3 points of the heart, and I just apply those using hot glue. Again, I'll be using some more hot glue to attach the heart to the inside of our frame. So I thought for a fun little added touch, I would add this laser cut love word. I picked these up from a store called Dollarama here in Canada. You could add anything you'd like to the center of your lace heart, or you could just leave it blank. I gave it a coat of the spun gold, and I'm attaching it using some tacky glue. Allow your little embellishment to dry well, and then it's all done. I think this is so cute and it was so easy to make. This would be great for your natural decor as well as on a sweet little tiered tray for Valentine's. So for another easy Valentine's DIY, I am using this house frame I picked up from Dollar Tree. I removed the little flamingo that was in there. Next, I am going to be tracing around this house with a pencil on white cardstock. So this is going to be a template to trace around on some pattern paper. I just wanted to make sure I had the right size to fit inside this little house frame. So I'm just measuring the edge, as I will need to trim that portion off around my template. So I'm just measuring that out onto the cardstock. I just draw on 3 dots that are approximately 6 millimeters in, and then I draw a line across. I do this for each side of my house template, as you can see here. And then you want to trim those portions off, and that should cut it down to the size you need. You could trim off a little extra if you need to. I had to here, it was just a tiny bit big in spots, but I just needed to trim a minimal amount off. The beauty about having this template is that you can save it for some more projects in these little house frames. So I dove into my stash of some scrapbook paper and I found this pretty pink one. I flipped it upside down and I'm going to trace around the white house template that I have here, just using my pencil, and then I'll be cutting that out. So I put my pink paper back down and you can see that the pink comes through the white lace. So next I'll be using my tacky glue again and spreading that out, and then I'm going to press the lace into the glue. Again, you're going to want to smooth it out, and then I always like to add a bit of weight onto something like this, and that will help dry it so it dries flat. Once dry, you're going to trim off the excess lace, and then it should fit perfectly inside your frame. Okay, so again, I'm using some tacky glue to apply my lace frame inside this. I'm just spreading it out. Again, use any adhesive that you like to use. Once the glue is set, then you can start to decorate the inside. I found these save the date wood magnets from the wedding section in Dollar Tree, and I sanded off the letters. So I also am going to be using these laser cut words, again from a store called Dollarama. I am going to color them using some white ink, as you see here, and then I'll allow them to dry. Again, you could decorate these little wood hearts any way you'd like. Even some cutout book words or some printables would be great on the inside. So once these words have dried, then you can glue them into place. I'm just figuring out the placement of them first. I will be using my tacky glue. I like to use a wet glue for something like this, so I have a little bit of time to move them around if I don't get them in the right placement. So again, I wanted that 3D effect, so I'm using the wood beads again just to lift this heart up again away from the lace on the inside of the frame. And I felt that it just needed a little bit more color, so I decided to ink up the edges using some pink ink around the edge of the heart. And this pink goes really well with that scrapbook paper that I had used. And then I'll just use some hot glue again to attach it on top of the lace. And again, you could decorate this any way you'd like, but I just like the simplicity of how this looks. I think it's just so pretty and has a bit of a romantic shabby chic look to it. So for this next project, I'm using this scrap piece of wood and I'm just sanding down the rough edges. I found this in a lumber pile at a building site. I asked the builder and he said, yes, go ahead, help yourself to whatever you want out of the scrap pile. So if you're looking for some scraps of wood, then I highly recommend checking that out. I am going to give this wood block a coat of some raw umber craft paint. I wanted to cover up that blue end and I felt like a dark color like the brown would cover that up nicely. So I'll give the entire block just one coat of the brown paint and allow it to dry well. Once the brown paint has dried, then you can coat it with one coat of cream paint or any color that you'd like. I'm just using one coat because I'm going to be distressing it, and so I knew that I would be removing some layers. While the cream paint is drying, I am going to be creating my embellishment for our wood board. Again, I'm using this chalkboard heart, and I've got this piece of birch bark in my scraps. If you've been following me for a while, you know how much I love to add natural elements to my crafting. So I just traced around our chalkboard heart and then I'm using some scissors to cut that out. A great alternative would just be to use some scrapbook paper. I just cleaned off the back of our birch bark piece and then I'll be using both some tacky glue as well as some hot glue to attach my piece of birch bark to our little wood heart. So I did add some weight to this as I wanted it to remain flat. I didn't want the birch bark to curl on me. So while I was setting, then I distressed the edges of our wood block. So I'm just going to be doing that using a sanding block, and you can see that the brown is showing through. The blue paint did not show through on the edge, which I was so happy about. Once you've got the desired distressed look, you can just dust it off with a rag and then attach your birch bark heart once the glue has set. And I'll just be attaching that using some hot glue. I made this cute little simple bow out of some jute twine, and I'm going to use hot glue to attach that to the top center of our little heart. And then using some more jute scraps, I am going to be wrapping that around the top and the bottom of our wood block. Now, how easy was that? I just love how this turned out. So as always, I would absolutely love to know what you think by leaving me a comment down below. For more inspiration, you can check out this video list to the right. And I want to thank you all so much for being here today. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.